Right. Welcome to the Gunnar Vibe. Thanks, Varun, for joining. I know it's a late Friday evening. Might be you might have plans, but thanks for setting your time aside for talking about Arsenal. That we like talking about, anyways.
Always ready for Arsenal discussion, so no no issues at all. Yeah.
Right. So big game this week. We had a Champions League game against Bayern. We've been waiting for this game for a while. Uh, How did you feel before the game? And let just think about
Yeah.
just before the kickoff. Were you feeling confident? You felt like this was probably one of the easier games,
Yeah.
maybe.
My honest feeling was I saw what I expected from Bayern, but
Mm,
I think in the general Arsenal fan base, I think we underestimated Bayern. If you saw, like, these famous Arsenal fans, like, hey, like, pray for Bayern, like, it's
mm,
gonna be a cakewalk. But I knew that experience-wise, they are the better squad, right?
mm,
Like, they've been there, done that, most of them. So I felt like we, as players, didn't take them lightly, but I think we have to give more credit to Bayern than blame Arsenal in this situation. It's just that they took two or three chances and converted,
mm,
whereas we played our original game, but they just hit us. They were better than us. That's all. I mean, that's the only. They were better than us in those few situations, not entirely, and
mm.
I think game ended up leveled. So
Yeah,
everything to play for, but I think we could have done much better at home.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I could sense like 99% of the Arsenal fan base being overconfident.
It
All the
was a
score lines that I
complacency.
saw, like
Yeah, yeah.
3-0, 5-0 to Arsenal, I was like, you should probably be a little calm. This is Arsenal's first time playing in the Champions League
Yes,
after a while. However, Bayern has been playing this pretty much every season.
correct.
And you could sense, I didn't actually expect Bayern to play the way they did, like counter-attacking. I
Yeah,
thought they would pretty much be dominating the football. But Arsenal being at home, I did expect Arsenal to be more,
correct.
at least possession-wise, better. Um, Any surprises on the lineup that you saw when the game
I
the
think
lineup was starting?
the lineup was pretty good. No complaints. Strong lineup. I think Jesus not starting was the only question mark that I had, but I think he's doing a little bit of squad rotation, which is expected. We have almost 10 games in April.
Mm,
We cannot keep playing the same lineup, and there are things that can go wrong. So I mean, it was a strong enough lineup to go against Bayern,
mm,
and the bench was strong as well. So maybe Arteta had something in mind, like, hey, like if at all we go in 2-0, in the first half or even in 60 minutes, he could do a little bit of squad rotation. But I think those two goals in the counter definitely changed the whole dynamic, right? We weren't
mm,
expecting either of those to convert. It was individual errors. We could have definitely avoided those two mistakes. They had more chances than those two.
mm,
It's just that we defended pretty good on those, and certain times we were lucky. Like Coman could have scored
mm,
towards the end. So I guess it was very evenly balanced. I mean, I think both the games on that night, first round of like first quarter final, on both the legs of the whole like bracket itself. So I think it was high energy on both like Real Madrid, City, as well as us. But I think after the game pace, I think it got slowed down. I think after 60 minutes, I think we could see the game die down a little bit.
mm,
But I think those changes were welcome, I guess. But I think I was pretty happy with the lineup. We had the strongest lineup that we could have, minus Jesus. But again, Kai Havertz has been, he's proved everyone wrong. Most of the Arsenal fans, including myself,
mm,
if you saw our Gunnar Vibe videos, I was a skeptic of Kai Havertz, but I'm his number one fan now. He's carrying the team. And I think also him playing in Germany for a while, for Leverkusen against uh, Bayern Munich. I think Arteta played that as well, right? You saw that
mm.
Serge Gnabry, Harry Kane, Leroy Sané, all played again, having experience playing in the Premiership. I
Mm.
think both the managers use that tactic to the to the most of the extent. So
Yeah,
no surprises there. Yeah,
yeah. The To be honest, I mean, there's probably a bad analogy to give as far as how Bayern played. You could sense a little bit of Tottenham, where
yeah,
their flanks were pacey and Kane being the provider, pretty much. A lot of counter-attacking play. I think, in the most sense, both the game goals that we conceded is very un-Arsenal like, at least in the.
very yeah. Panic. It was. It looked like panic. I mean, Raya. I think the first goal was Nabry's goal.
Mhm,
Um, and if you saw the number of passes they got to get to Nabry was literally two or three passes. I think the
mhm,
mistake from Raya forcing Gabriel to make that pass, Kivior missing it, one kick from Sane to Goretzka, and then Goretzka to Nabry. It was just three passes, and we were cut open,
mhm,
right? And then the second one was like, if you saw, it was even more anticlimactic. The ball, it was a dead ball start from Manuel Neuer. He rolled it up, and he just literally, like, he was showboating. And I
mhm,
think we showed them too much respect as well. I think that was the other thing.
mhm,
We let Bayern come and enforce themselves on us, in our home ground. Although we had the full 60,000 stadium, packed with our fans. So
mhm,
I feel like we showed too much respect. I think it was a little bit of that, and also a little bit of jitteriness, and, like, you could see that it was the first time we played in this stage for a
mhm.
very long time. All
Yeah.
these players potentially never played in the Champions League quarterfinal, right? This
Mhm,
crop of players. So I think that was the thing that we could see. But on contrast, you can see us in the Premier League last year, how we were. We have totally learned from it. We look more confident, when we grind out those results. But in the Champions League, it was just inexperience, and, like, I think we are only going to learn from this. So I'm
mhm.
looking forward to next week. We don't know what's going to happen, but we have to be positive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like there is two sides of Arsenal. One is the Premier League side, and then
Yeah,
the Champions League side, how they play. And well, the play is generally good in both sides, but there is a little bit of uh, jitteriness in how we play in the Champions League. But like you said, it's going to be interesting next week how things pan out. However, a lot of controversy in this match itself. The first one, I don't know if you heard or saw the handball from Gabriel.
yeah,
Seems to be a big discussion point. I honestly didn't even realize that people
correct.
were actually complaining about it. Just after that happened, I saw Kane and another, I think it was Gnabry,
Yeah,
complaining, and I thought it was when Kane hit, he thought that it was a corner, and that's why he was complaining to the referee.
yeah.
But that was not the case. What did you think about that
Yeah,
situation?
exactly. I was in the same boat as you. Honestly, during the game, never realized that it was such a big issue. But then, looking back at what I have seen in the past, Raya and Gabriel do that in every game
Mm,
potentially. But I think in this instance, the only issue was, I think Gabriel didn't hear the whistle or something like that.
mm.
He basically said that I honestly didn't hear. We do that in every game, but
Yeah, I
again,
mean, if in
uh,
every instance that you see, Raya usually rolls the ball to Gabriel. Gabriel
right,
hands it and then he passes with his foot.
passes it
In
back.
this
Yeah,
case, Raya kicks it to Gabriel. Gabriel collects it, and that's
yeah,
what is the controversial part because generally that's not the case. The Raya
yeah.
actually rolls it to
Rolls
Gabriel
it.
for
I think,
Gabriel to score.
yeah, I think if you look at the law book, I mean, if you go by the book, yes, that's an offense. I mean,
Mm,
it could have been a penalty. You'd never know if it was a referee who had other ideas. It could
mm,
have been a penalty. It could have been the worst penalty that we could have considered.
mm,
But I think we need to iron out those small errors as well, because
mm,
as much as I love Gabriel a lot, he sometimes cracks under the pressure, and he does these things that could could potentially, like be catastrophic for our seasons.
mm,
I mean, he's done similar things, right? And same thing from Saliba. Like Saliba, calm, cool as like a customer throughout the Premier League. But that whack on Sane could have been
mm,
avoided. It could have been a little bit more like non-deliberate, and like we could have survived the penalty. So I think both of them, as reliable as they are, again, inexperience in the big stage, I think showed. And luckily we weren't punished deeply for that, and like the game ended square, right? We could have gone with a deficit. You never know, that could have been a mountain to climb. So
mm,
for us to come in after 7 years to play Bayern in the quarters, and still, regarding of the circumstance, like Bayern being like down in the Bundesliga, conceding in, throwing the towel. Last weekend they were 2-0 lead against like a
mm,
minnow team, and they lost 3-2. The weekend prior they lost 2-0 to Dortmund. So totally
mm,
surrendering the league. Circumstantially, I think I saw Arsenal fans taking that as a litmus test and thinking, oh, we could beat them 3-0.
mm,
But I think now, going back to the experience in Champions League, they are the big dogs in this tie,
mm,
and I think we are okay to play underdogs. I think we should be underdogs anyways. And like if you go to the semifinals, there are even more experienced teams waiting for us.
mm,
So I think we should just, I'm lucky that we didn't get the penalty. We are lucky that we didn't concede that cheap penalty. Let them complain about it, and I think it's also mind games from Tuchel, because
mm,
what else do they have to play for against? That Champions League is the only thing they have for silverware. So
mm.
I think he's putting all his eggs in this basket and
He has to.
complaining
Yeah,
about it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
The second big call was it Harry Kane red card, yellow card in this case. What are your thoughts on that?
I when I saw the game, I was infuriated. I thought that it was a red card offense, could have been. But when I saw multiple replays again and again, I felt like Kane did see that he was behind him, but I don't
Mm,
think he didn't move his elbow towards Gabriel's neck, like intentionally. Yes, it was there. Uh, for me, I felt it was a fair decision. It could have been a red in other circumstances, but if you saw Gabriel as well, Gabriel kind of went into his elbow as well,
Oh,
right?
so
Yeah,
this is the part that I'm a little bit because I know you are an attacker. I
yeah,
have played as a defender. So as an attacker, generally, if there is a high ball, you would
yeah,
jump for a ball. As a
right,
defender, obviously, I'll try and defend or at least attack. We both will be jumping. What I
yeah,
saw was Gabriel was the one who was actually looking at the ball, trying to get a jump in to head the ball out.
right.
That wasn't the case with Harry Kane at all. He was just trotting back, looking at
He
where
was
Gabriel was. The only thing he did was m- trying to fool the referee that he was actually going to jump, but he
right.
just did this.
Yeah,
Literally saw the player behind him and just did this. If 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 it was anywhere like maybe someone else, I would have said this would have definitely been given as a red card. I
right.
think for some reason and he has done that previously in the Premier League games
Oh,
as
they
well.
have been doing that to get
So,
at each other like since
right,
like all the years. Gabriel
yeah,
and Saliba have been doing like facing Kane, and I think they've always had a frosty
mm,
relationship.
yeah,
I think it just came to light. Of course, as an Arsenal fan, of course, I want that as a red card.
mm,
I felt maybe I think if you heard the referee after the game, maybe VAR was thinking the same. I don't think they wanted to influence the game too much, like from refereeing point of view. Like
mm,
if you look at the three decisions, I think the third one, I think maybe potentially you would bring up is the Saka penalty on the very
mm,
last seconds. Those three decisions could have influenced the whole game. If Harry Kane was sent off, if that penalty was given, and if we had gotten a penalty, potentially like in the big scheme, it would have been ended up as 3-3 or something. And honestly, Kane sending off would have been amazing for us going into
mm.
the next leg.
Well,
But
we
I
would have
guess,
actually
yeah,
got more goals, I would think, because with them and 10 men, they were not having any position. Kane
Right.
was the only one who was actually trying to hold the ball and getting the wingers in. So if they
Correct.
didn't really have that person, they
Right.
probably wouldn't have got any position. So uh,
Yeah.
with Arsenal being in the ascendancy, and I think
What
Arteta did
minute
a
was
really,
this? Remember? Like
huh?
I fail to remember what
I think
minute
it
was
was the
this.
second half around 56th or 60th minute.
Okay, so
So
it was after 2-1. Like we were already 2-1 down. Yeah.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
we were 2-1 down. But yeah, that's the problem. Like I feel Arteta did a really good job of getting Zinchenko on. If you have seen the 4-4-2 YouTube video where he
4-4. Yeah.
explains the changes that Arteta did, Zinchenko, there is a lot of problems with Zinchenko as far as defending is concerned, but the way Bayern was lined up and the way Arteta had to make changes in game to get Zinchenko on the ball so that we can
Yeah.
actually have the pass outside was really impressive. I think that was important. With this, let's say this had happened where Kane had got the red card, I would have thought Arsenal would have put more pressure on Bayern,
We would have
which would
gone
have,
for it. Yeah.
yeah, we
Yeah.
would have got more chances than we did. And you could sense that Arsenal were going in the ascendancy. Like as soon as Trossard and Jesus came, we were
Oh, it
pretty
was
much
amazing.
dominating.
It
Yeah.
was amazing. Yeah, I just felt like we could have potentially got at least a 3-2.
Mhm.
Like just put our noses in front. I mean, if you think about it, I think Arteta touched upon this. I had the exact same thought. If Ben White would have converted that
Mhm.
open goal, like he hit straight at the keeper, he had the entire frame.
Mhm.
If it was 2-0 to Arsenal, I think it was game over right
Yeah.
there, right?
Mhm.
And I think we have been through this same motion last season as well on a few occasions where, the games that we drew and, potentially threw away. West Ham, it reminded me of the West Ham game. We were 2-0 up. Saka gets the penalty, misses, and then we
Mhm.
end up 2-2. And kind of like, we threw away the title in that occasion. It
Mhm.
kind of gave me that kind of a feeling when, like if only if Ben White would have just converted that 2-0 in 22 minutes, it would have been like, Arsenal all the way. But we didn't score, and then they quick, next minute they were 2-2, like, they were quick
Yeah.
goals and we were down. So
Mhm.
it was so balanced that the chances that came by, I think we could have potentially converted more, at least one goal at least.
Mhm.
But again, we're back, we're 2-2, it's parity, away goals rule doesn't exist.
Mhm.
We have gone to Bayern Munich and won there 2-0 at one point of time. We can do it. I mean, I'm confident that we can do
Mhm.
it. And I think the second leg suits us better.
Mhm.
They would be the team that will have the onus to attack. Potentially, we could play how they were playing today.
Mhm.
Play like how we played against City. Just sit there and attack on the counter. Because honestly, even if we get one goal more than them, we are through. We honestly don't need to worry about away goals. So that suits us, I think, in terms of the context. But again, I think to your point, we should potentially start Zinchenko instead of Kivior next time around, and maybe start one of the two, Jesus or Trossard. So
Yeah.
I think Martinelli, for example, when he's the best, I think he's amazing. But I think we didn't see most of him last game. So
Mhm.
potentially Trossard should get the nod ahead, and maybe keep him on the bench, right? If we need him, we can bring him.
Yeah.
So
Well, before we go to the next slide, let's talk about the last
the last
controversial
seconds,
decision. This was literally the last 20 seconds of the game when um, Saka got the ball. He was pretty much through on goal, going towards or almost about to strike, and then he sees Manuel Neuer in front of him. He collided, tripped, whatever we have to call it.
yeah,
Uh, Arsenal players were infuriated that they go. Well, that they felt that it was a penalty. They didn't get it. They went to a VAR. They didn't get it either. In fact, VAR gave the decision literally 20 seconds, or and as soon as that decision was made, referee blew the whistle. What were your conclusions? Did you feel like that was a penalty, a Stonewall penalty?
In when I first saw it, like real time, clear penalty. Like I thought, tripped in the box, keeper comes out, sticks a leg out. Um, Maybe not a red card because there were two defenders who covered the goal as well. Not a clear goal scoring opportunity, in my opinion. Yes, he
Mm,
had taken Saka down, but two defenders covered the goal. So, but it was a definite, in my books, it was penalty. And I think we chatted about this as well. If it was in the dying seconds, and I think that's what we heard from the referee after. They didn't
mm,
want to directly influence the game by these decisions, be it the penalty on that side and be it the penalty on this side. I think they put the cards in their pockets. They didn't show many, they didn't disrupt the game a lot. I mean, I don't know. There are two ways to look at it. I mean, they could have given both penalties. It could have been even.
mm,
But from the first view of it, it definitely looked like a penalty. There was contact. We have seen this given in the Premier League. If there's
mm,
minimal contact, straight penalty. If you compare this and to the Aaron Van Bissaka penalty for Liverpool,
mm.
that was actually a dive.
Yeah.
Van Bissaka actually he went on to Van Bissaka's foot and he tripped and they still got a penalty.
Mm,
That was less of a penalty than this. This was more of it. But then when I watched again and again the replays, I did feel like um, Saka did raise his leg a little bit as well, to make
mm,
the most of it. But hey, he's the offensive player. Keeper has committed. Why not, right? So to his point, I don't think he deliberately, dived. He saw contact and he fell down, right? And if
mm,
if he had the balance, if you looked at it pretty good, even when he was falling, he was trying to attempt to hit the ball, right?
mm,
So benefit of the doubt to Saka. I personally feel it was a penalty. But as you said, if it was earlier in the game, maybe we could have gotten the call. But it was literally on the 95th minute. Almost
mhm.
he blew the whistle after that straight.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I don't know. It could have gone either ways. I don't know what
Yeah.
you. But yeah,
Yeah. I think, to be honest, when I saw it first time, I didn't feel it was a penalty. I mean, even watching back the replays, I'm kind of 50-50. When we chatted, I was
yeah,
convinced that it was not a penalty. I would say, yeah, definitely not a penalty.
yeah.
Uh, but after that, I've seen more replays, and I'm kind of torn. Like I mentioned in the chat and in the text, if the referee had given the penalty, VAR would not have overturned it. And
Correct,
the
correct.
same goes the other way. If the referee did not give it, which happened this time, the VAR would not have overturned his decision either. So uh, overall, I feel it was fair. Uh, uh,
I agree with that.
I,
Yeah,
I
it's
do
just that high
see.
emotions. We all
Yeah,
felt that we needed a penalty,
exactly.
and from the way Saka fell down from the goal scoring opportunity, it looked like he wanted a penalty, right?
But
Um,
if you remember, there was this incident in Arsenal Man City last season.
yes,
I think Arsenal at home when Nketiah just barged into Ederson.
Ederson, we got the
Similar
penalty.
situation, similar situation, right? Where it's not like Saka is Neuer is actually in front of him, so there is no way Saka can go past to get the ball. So no, Neuer is putting his body just like Ederson was, and
Yeah.
Nketiah barged into him, Saka barged into him. So in one case, it was a penalty. Like you said, there is it kind of depends on the referee, which referee.
Referee, yeah.
Yeah.
But the only thing difference between that Ederson incident and Neuer incident was Neuer actually stuck his leg out though. Like he
Mm,
he wasn't fully innocent as well. So if Neuer stood his ground and Saka hit him, that I would have said it's a full dive, right? Okay,
mm,
Saka stuck his leg out, got the contact. But if you keep, I mean, like if the more the times you look at it, if you see Neuer's feet, the left feet is on the ground, but he does raise his feet to basically trip Saka as well. So
mm,
that I think those are the things I think what people are analyzing and thinking, oh, that could have been a penalty. And I think that's what Saka was complaining, and there
mm.
were memes going around him complaining to Harry Kane. But honestly, he's not going to care about it. And if you ask
Yeah.
Harry Kane, it was asked to him. Um, what do you think if it was a penalty? He said if Saka is in my team, yes, I that is a penalty. So
Mm,
it depends on who you ask. I felt like it could have been given in the Premier League. In the
mm,
Premier League, it definitely would have been given.
yeah,
But I think in Europe, these things don't come by as easily. So I mean, couldn't complain anymore beyond that. The game was called off. I mean, now it's all in the second leg, I guess.
yeah. Honestly, I hope that we get a referee which is just like this one, kind of unbiased. Don't get to the pressure of the situation, especially at Bayern, because you never know. The the crowd in Bayern is more crazier than I feel in the Emirates. So
Yeah.
referees can get a little pressurized to give such a situation if it does happen in Alliance Arena and the other way around to Bayern. Um, I fear that they would get a penalty.
Yeah,
But
I think that's the scary part about second leg being away from home, meaning
mm,
like you would rather prefer the second leg to be at your home
mm,
because that's the end of the 180 minutes. So I think that's the only disadvantage we have is, we'll be, hostile. We'll have, hostile atmosphere. And as you said, referees sometimes do get influenced by
mm,
the crowd.
right,
But I think if it was a little like a few minutes before the game ended, I think this could have been called as a penalty.
mm,
I think the
yeah,
referee was like, he probably just made up his mind to end it.
yeah.
Uh,
You wanted to get away from that
get away. Yeah, he
stadium.
he wanted to end it so that he can he can pull his socks off. Like he's like, I'm done. So, um, but I get Saka's argument as well. Like he was clearly tripped as well. Like if
Mm.
you should check it out. I think you would probably see it in a different light. That Neuer actually raises his foot really high.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I like I said, I'm still torn. Like I feel like it's 50
Yeah,
50. There is very minute details that a VAR will need to actually go in and say that, hey, the referee did a major blunder and you
error.
have to go in and say. There
Yeah,
was no actual blunder that I could say that VAR could overturn. And that's why I felt like, okay, this
yeah.
is fine.
I think it was
So,
a fair decision in
yeah,
the end.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, talking about next leg, it's going to be difficult. Definitely, Bayern will be up for it. It's their home game. They have, like you mentioned, done poorly in Bundesliga. In fact, this weekend they'll probably lose the title to Bayer Leverkusen. So they literally have nothing else to play for but the Champions League. So they'll probably put everything in. I heard Gnarby, Serge Gnabry is injured. I think he has a hamstring strain. Davies is out for the second
Suspended.
leg.
Yeah.
So we definitely will see some changes in at the Bayern Munich side. What changes do you expect for Arsenal?
Yeah, I mean, the luxury Arsenal have right now. Okay, I think this is something that we should hope for that Arteta does. We need to start Partey. I think you saw if you saw the penalty incident, his pass literally like he cut five people and put it to
Mm,
Saka. I think when Partey came on, our fluency definitely is better. Jorginho done a great job, but I think Partey offers something different, a little bit more balanced in terms of the defensive side and his line breaking passes, right? So I would, if I was like Arteta, I would start Partey instead of Jorginho, and I would start Zinchenko instead of Kivior, more experience. And also, I would change a little bit on, like, I would start Trossard instead of Martinelli. I would keep
mm,
the rest of the team the same because I do want to have some firepower in the bench as well. So, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, Reece Nelson, and like all others, Tomiyasu could be the other candidate. I
mm,
definitely feel uh, White, Saliba, and Gabriel are unchangeable. I think they are
mm,
like solid rocks. We should not mess with them. Could argue for Tomiyasu, but I think Tomiyasu does very well coming off the bench to solidify the win. I think these would be my changes, and it'll be interesting to see how we line up against Villa
mm.
because that will also factor in, who's going to start on Wednesday.
Yeah,
But that'll be my starting lineup because we need to go for the game on Wednesday, because a nil-nil doesn't, if if we were 2-1 in this leg, a nil-nil could have done the job for us. But I think we also have the onus to get at least one goal. But who knows? As you said, Nabry is injured, Davis is suspended. They already have so many other injuries. Um, we could see two Bayerns, right? If they are still in the league for some reason, if they win and Leverkusen win, I think they concede the league because it's 15 points away,
Hmm.
and there's only 4 games to go. But if they rest their players, I think they could come more at us. I think what I heard is they're going to rest some of their players over the weekend because they don't care about it. So personnel wise, I think that would be my call. I don't know if you wanna comment on that and like tweak
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah. I mean, I still feel like Partey needs some game time, so I would expect Partey to get some game this weekend against Aston Villa. However, I would probably stick with Jorginho. If you remember the Porto game, I mean, Porto was pretty damn good as a team against Arsenal, even in the second leg when we were trying to get that goal. I would stick with Trossard for sure. I think he has been phenomenal. I think, especially in the Champions League, he has been doing really well. I would be a little tempted to play Jesus, maybe,
Yeah.
but I would stick with Havertz because I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
we
yeah.
need Havertz height in what I from the game situation. What I would think will happen is it will be a reverse of the first fixture where Bayern will dominate the position.
Yeah.
Arsenal will play similar to how we played against Man City with a lot of position to the opposition, and we try and play in the counter attack. Uh, and for that kind of situation, Arsenal need a really solid bed. Like we need a good defense. We need the three Ben White, Saliba, and Gabriel for sure. I would say we should go for Tomiyasu. The only reason I'm saying Tomiyasu is because if you remember that Liverpool game last
Yeah.
season where Tomiyasu pretty much nullified Salah, left hand, right hand side, left winger. With Tomiyasu, I feel like he'll be that player against Sane
Yeah.
uh, to solidify our left hand side.
That's a good call as well. Yeah, because I think even if Tomiyasu slots in as a back three,
Mm.
White actually like if you saw the first 15 minutes, Ben White was literally playing like a striker. Like
Mhm.
that could even potentially work for us, which is a great call. Yeah.
Right. I don't expect us to go that gung ho either, but I feel like White will tuck in a little bit with Jorginho.
Yeah.
Rice will play a little bit up,
Advanced
maybe
with
number eight with
Odegaard. Yeah.
Odegaard and Havertz. And I fancy our chances with if Trossard is in that space in the box, I think he's going to score.
Yeah,
Same with
he's
Saka.
so clinical. Like he just
Exactly.
needs that pass in the box and he can, get that job done.
Yeah.
Martinelli, of course, great player, but this season he hasn't been the same as last. So that's the only,
Mm,
sad part about it. But Martinelli's pace is so welcome. Like, when
mm,
60 minutes hit, and assuming potentially if we are 1-0 ahead, or even if it's 1-1, to get that extra goal, I think Martinelli's pace could be the difference.
yeah.
With Davis being out, and like, we could, I think it's positioned well for us, to be honest.
Mm,
I honestly, of course, we want us to go ahead, but if it comes hard by, I'm not gonna get disheartened. I think still for Arsenal, Guardiola had to go 7 times himself with his mega billion squad, to get to the final and win it.
mm,
Like once he lost it, so for us. I think we are just starting to hit, phase 5, right?
mm,
Arteta's phase 5. So I think I always keep messaging you. I'm excited for the next 5 seasons.
mm,
We're already doing well in season like number 0.1. So
mm,
anything that comes this year would be a great bonus. I mean, if we win the league by a point, I think it's a point league. This cannot be
mm,
more than that. And if we go to the semi-final, I think my goal, if you saw the goals for this season, was top two and be in the semifinals of the Champions League. If we
Mm.
can achieve one of those two things, I think it's game.
Yeah, I still feel like this game is for the taking. Arsenal can overcome this Bayern side. We have the quality.
Yeah,
If it's still nil-nil, I'll probably um, switch Jorginho with Rice coming back, Havertz taking Rice's place,
the
and
advanced
then
goal. Yeah,
Jesus in the middle, and
yeah.
maybe get Martinelli on the left instead of Trossard. And obviously Zincher go for Tomiyasu. But apart from that, I don't feel like there is going to be a lot of changes. Um, but obviously, when we are talking about the Premier League now, Arsenal is on the top of the Premier League. We have like what 7 games in hand in total to play. Difficult games, all of them. We start with
United did us a favor, which was
yeah,
almost a three-pointer,
yeah,
but we take the 2 points dropped as well. Yeah.
right, yeah, and maybe there is a downward trend in Liverpool as well. They lost 3-0 to Atlanta
Oh,
yesterday.
I loved
So
that game. I watched it. Yeah. I
so
especially for those fans that were like, like making fun of us for the 2-2 against Bayern.
mm,
I think it serves them well that, they themselves couldn't get the job done. And
right,
potentially that was Klopp's last Anfield night in Europe in
yeah,
case they go get eliminated. So
mm,
the whole Klopp farewell tour was just getting on our nerves. They were acting
mm,
as if they're going to win the quadruple, and now they're down to like the Carabao Cup, right?
yeah,
So that
mm,
serves them well.
yeah. Well, we'll see, but we still have a big game in hand this weekend against Aston Villa. We talked a little bit about rotation, especially for the Bayern game. What do you sense? Aston Villa obviously played their full strength against Lille in the Conference League. They will be without what is it, Kamara
Douglas,
and
Douglas
Douglas
Luiz as well.
Luiz
Yeah,
is out. So
I feel Douglas Luiz was the difference in the game that we lost. I think
mm,
he's become one of their best players. I think this year, last 12 months. I think him missing out is a very positive change.
mm,
Um, but again, the teams that we have lost to this season away from home, be it Newcastle or like other teams, we have West Ham, for example. We have given them like a good run for their money. So
mm,
I'm assuming the goal again should be get a couple of goals in the first half and then potentially rest some of our key players
mm,
because we want to protect them for Bayern. So I think at home it's going to be tough. I mean, if you saw the City against Villa game, Villa were again sitting deep, hitting on the counter, due to Man City's possession, but they were pretty good. I mean, like they hit the equalizer. They were almost about to get a couple of goals ahead,
mm,
didn't take the chances, and then City just broke away. Right? I think Foden and Silva were the difference. So it's gonna be tough, but I think we will get the job done. And I think to your point, potentially Partey could start. I would actually welcome Smith Rowe to start as well, and I would actually rest Saka and start Nelson
mm,
because I think we need to use our squad. I think we are over relying on the first 11. Saka looks exhausted after every game. Potentially,
mm,
he shouldn't be. And I think we need to protect him.
yeah,
So I would even potentially start, Nketiah, to be honest, up front
mm,
and bring in the changes if we don't, start scoring. So Nketiah is, I think, a stretch. I don't think Arteta, as you said, trusts Nketiah as much. But I would make those changes. I would place Smith Rowe, Reece Nelson, potentially change, maybe start Kivior again, give other couple of guys a little bit of rest. Maybe back
mm,
four won't change, but I think midfield can change a little bit for other guys to come in. And Partey can get maybe 20-25 minutes,
yeah.
as you said. Yeah, I think I don't see too much changes, but these are potential changes I see Arteta could make.
Yeah, I think most of the squad that you mentioned uh, is similar to what I have in mind as well. I think Partey definitely warrants a start. He needs a start to get his
Yeah,
fitness back. I feel like this is a good game for Zinchenko be there to
yeah,
get a start and get that game flow going. I feel like Kivior's time of being that left back is done. Maybe it's time for Zinchenko and Tomias to fill in
And
for
I
the
think
rest of the
Timber is
season.
back too. I think we
Right.
forget that Timber is actually back with the first team. Who knows? He might get few minutes just to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
maybe a couple of minutes at the end of the game, if
yeah,
especially if you're winning. Uh, I I don't know. I mean, I think I still feel like Harvard should start. We have been, and I haven't felt like Harvard is like that kind of a player that gets exhausted. He's been so
no, he's been
fit
phenomenal.
that
Phenomenal. Yeah.
yeah, he's been great, to be honest. With any of the games that we have played, all of the players around him seems to be like tired and on their hunches. I have never seen
Him
Havertz.
and Odegaard, right? Odegaard
Uh,
literally runs every inch of the pitch, like
yeah.
to chase, close him. I think kudos to those guys. And if you read about, Arteta's summer plans of signing a striker,
Mm,
they've actually changed the strategy now because of Havertz's evolution.
mm,
That they're potentially just going to look for like a number nine who's more on the young profile, right? They don't need
mm,
that finished good.
yeah.
Is what
Yeah.
like if we have Havertz doing the job, why not save up a little bit and maybe supplement like Jorginho or El Neni potentially like exiting. So
Mm,
that's a good change. I think you're right. Havertz, his demeanor is more like Ozil. Like he might look
mm,
like he's like running lazily, but in those duels, I think in corners, in like getting the ball down, when the ball is hit by Rhea, he's phenomenal. I think he wins every ball, every duel, and him doing the hold up play, like how he scored against City in the first half of the season, he's amazing in that play as well. So,
mm,
and I think a lot of people neglect his runs. If you saw Trossard's goal, it
mm,
was Havertz's run. So the dribbling from Jesus took away two players,
mhm,
but there was a player marking Trossard, and if you saw Havertz's run, he basically ran across the goal, opening that channel, which
mhm.
is why Trossard got that opening to convert that. So I think he does so many things that goes unspoken, but I think he's been phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's spot on. I won't actually change Havertz in this game at all.
Yeah,
Definitely, Rice needs to be there. I feel like Rice might be the one who could be given a break, if
a little
especially
bit
if
of breather. Yeah.
we are doing well. Or like you mentioned, instead of Rice, we can start Smith Rowe, but it might be a bit of a risk, especially with Partey just coming in. Getting Smith Rowe also would be like two kind of new players in there. So I'll start with Rice, and on the left, maybe Trossard, and then on the right, instead of Saka, I'll probably play Martinelli instead of
Yeah.
Reece Nelson. I think Arteta did a similar thing against, who did we play
I
last
think
week? Was
Luton game, I think
Luton.
we did that.
They
And
did
Smith
something
Rowe was
similar.
phenomenal that day.
Mm,
I think coming back of no game time, Smith Rowe it was glimpses of old Smith Rowe, which we missed.
yeah.
So I think if we could just get over the line, I mean, I don't honestly worry about the score line, even if it's a 2-1, as long as we get 3 points, I think we are game because I think those 5 nils and 6 nils, that's the difference between us and Liverpool and City right
Mm,
now because we have a comfortable goal difference and goals scored against.
mm.
So there is a very good chance this season it might be equal on points and it might go to goal difference. So
Yeah,
comfortable. I'm very happy that we
yeah,
have worked on it, and also head to head. Right?
mm,
Imagine a situation where all three teams are on the same points, similar goals, and maybe goal difference. It might go to head. Right? How it comes to
mm,
La Liga, we are good on head to head as well. So I think
yeah,
we're doing all the right things as long as we keep winning. There might be, I see potential, not for us only. I do see a slip up for every team at least
mm,
on one occasion between now and end of the season. But go game by game, win your next one, and
mm,
leave it to the rest. So the only opening that comes is the weekend after, where we play Spurs. City don't play a game. So
mm,
then it might open up a 4 point gap if we keep winning because City have that extra game against Spurs moved because of the FA Cup.
mm.
I think semi-final. So
Right.
So mathematically they would be a little behind us, but like game wise they will have to squeeze that extra game against Spurs before
Mm,
end of the season. So I think the only last comment I would leave is Liverpool's run is easier now. I wouldn't say
mm,
easier, but on paper it's easier. And I think we have two tough games, away games, Spurs and United. I think if we can manage to be undefeated in those two, I think we win the league. So
mm.
um,
You have been strong away from home, so that's a good omen to have, especially
yeah,
going to United and
yeah,
Spurs.
I think United has been a sticky patch for us. I think the only time we got something was a while ago. I think
Mm,
one point, I think when Aubameyang equalized, I think during the pandemic.
mm,
Apart from that, it's been a unlucky place for us for a while. So that's the only sticking point, and that's like the second last game of the season. If
yeah,
United game was slightly early enough, there's room to catch up. I just hope United don't show up against us,
yeah.
how they did against Liverpool. So, but again, we only worry about Aston Villa now, and
Mm,
we leave the rest for later.
okay. All right, we'll leave it at that. Great discussion. It was fun talking about Bayern. We talked about Aston Villa. Positive vibes going against over the weekend and next week against Bayern. So, any final thoughts, Varun, before we close
I
out?
think stay positive. As an Arsenal fan, we couldn't come. At one point, when Wenger left, we could not have imagined this turnaround.
Mm,
As we have seen, United situation. They have rotated so many managers, nobody can get it right. At a club level, I think we should be proud of not just Arteta, but the entire club because the way they have handled the exit of Wenger, being down in the dumps and like 8, 9, and potentially just scrapping for like Europa League. I think we are in a good spot, like as a club. I'm
mm,
only looking positive towards the future. So I'm good. Like honestly, like I'm expecting us to get the title at least in the next couple of seasons, minimum a couple of times,
mm,
because Klopp is gone. Guardiola will leave as well. There will be a couple of seasons later he's gonna go. So
mm.
we are gonna be the top dog. So
Yeah,
I'm excited.
yeah, definitely time for excitement for Arsenal and the Gunners. Well, thanks again, Varun. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Arun. Yeah.
And again, if you guys like the content that we have and the discussions that we have had today and in our previous calls, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the time that you spent listening to us.
Yep, please comment. And if you guys ever want to join us for a discussion, please leave us a comment and
Mhm,
send us an email. We'll try to get you in the discussion as well. So,
totally.
yeah.
All right. Perfect.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Varun. Take care.
Come on, you goodness.
Come on, you gunners.